Hello fight fans, thanks for joining us at MMA Insider. Before we get rolling with today's news, show some love by hitting that like button and subscribing. Now let's uncover the latest happenings in MMA. Starting off, Daniel Cormier reacts to newly released audio of Khabib Nurmagomedov Conor McGregor ending. Moving on, Chael Sonnen details the mistake the UFC made in negotiating a Khabib Nurmagomedov comeback. Next, Ilia Topuria hits back at Conor McGregor after threatening to slap the head off him at BKFC presser. Moving on, Khamzat Chimaev opens up on sparring session with Sean Strickland. Lastly, PFL President provides an encouraging update on Francis Ngannou's MMA return. Daniel Cormier has provided some context behind why the Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Conor McGregor fight had a dark cloud around it. The UFC released never-before-seen footage of Khabib submitting McGregor at UFC 229. The footage includes muted commentary with the sole audio coming from McGregor, Khabib, and referee Herb Dean. After tapping out McGregor, Khabib spit on the former two-division champion and said, Dean separated the two fighters. Seconds later, Khabib jumped into the crowd and attacked McGregor's teammate Dylan Dennis in the stands. In a recent episode of Good Guy Bad Guy with Chael Sonnen, Cormier reacted to the new Conor Khabib fight audio making the rounds online. Here is what he said. For as much as Khabib felt disrespected about the comments about his family, about his dad, everything, even that action felt disrespectful because he didn't want to feel that Conor McGregor could be entitled. I knew from being close to Khabib that when Conor started talking about his dad, saying all those negative things, I knew that this rivalry and this fight would go to a different place. The one thing you don't do in regards to that is talk about those guys' fathers. In Khabib's culture, they hold the father in such high regard that when you take a shot at them, you really get the entire village or community. So it wasn't just him insulting Khabib and his dad. He was really insulting the guy that could essentially be called the father of all those Dagestani fighters because he put so much into those young athletes. That fight was so filled with emotion. To me, I just don't understand how Conor didn't understand that he was going too far. Khabib entered the UFC Hall of Fame alongside Cormier in 2022. As for McGregor, he's working towards an octagon comeback against Michael Chandler, targeted for later this year. Chael Sonnen is detailing the mistake the UFC made in negotiating a Khabib comeback. Khabib took to Instagram with a statement regarding his retirement decision. Dana White, thank you so much, brother, and the entire UFC team for the opportunity to prove myself. You guys have changed many lives forever because of this sport. Dana, I'll never forget your attitude towards me. My father did not forget, and my sons will remember you. Also, thank you to all team, sparring partners, and all fans. I hope you will accept my decision and understand me. It was during a recent YouTube video that Chael Sonnen suggested had the UFC taken a different approach, we may have seen Khabib Nurmagomedov back in the octagon for his 30th bout. Here's what he said. I have maintained for you that when those negotiations were going on and they were attempting to change numbers, they were changing the wrong number. The same reason that 30-0 became 29-0. It wasn't commas and zeros, it was weight class. If they would have had one more, sat him down and really negotiated and made it 170 pounds, you would have seen Khabib fight, or at least you'd have been a lot more likely. Tensions are intensifying between UFC featherweight champion Ilia Topuria and superstar Conor McGregor. After withdrawing from his scheduled UFC bout with Michael Chandler at UFC 303, McGregor is recovering from a foot injury. In the meantime, he's exploring some of his other avenues, including being a part owner of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. During the recent Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship press conference in Spain, McGregor was asked how a bare knuckle boxing match between himself and Topuria would play out. Here is what he said. Ilia, Spanish-Georgian lad, he's not bad, he's a boxing-heavy style. He would certainly land well in Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I'd slap him around, he's too small. I'm a big lad compared to Ilia. But he's not bad, he's a current UFC world champion. All of these guys are looking at Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I'd be King Kong if you're asking me. But seeing these guys cross over would be good. In a recent tweet, Topuria responded to McGregor's comments. Pinky Toe, welcome to my home. It's great seeing you working for us. Come to Madrid and we will see who slaps who. Topuria knuckles for dinner. Topuria captured the UFC featherweight title by finishing Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 298. He's expected to face Max Holloway later this year, although nothing has been formally announced nor booked. McGregor hasn't fought since shattering his leg against Dustin at UFC 264. He has 2 fights left on his UFC contract and has teased a move to Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship once his UFC tenure concludes. Topuria has poked and called out McGregor numerously since defeating Volkanovski for the 145 pounds title. A fight between them could potentially take place in the UFC octagon, depending on McGregor's plans for a comeback. UFC middleweight contender Khamzat Chimaev is opening up on his training sessions with Sean Strickland. Khamzat has been out of the cage since his majority decision victory over Kamaru Usman last October. While the bout was labeled as a title eliminator heading into the matchup, Khamzat Chimaev didn't get a shot at gold following the win. Instead, the Chechen was given a main event against Robert Whittaker, set for last month in Saudi Arabia. However, the fight didn't happen. A week out from fight night, Khamzat Chimaev came down with an illness and was forced to withdraw. As a result, Ikram Aliskerov stepped up and was handed a first-round knockout loss by Whittaker. With the victory, Whittaker re-entered the title conversation at 185 pounds. However, there's another man in the running for a title shot right now, and that's Sean Strickland. Strickland is coming off a split decision victory over Paulo Costa last month at UFC 301. Strickland currently believes that he's the rightful next challenger and should face the winner of Dricus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya. However, Khamzat Chimaev has to provide some pushback on that. Earlier this week, Khamzat called for a UFC title shot in his return to the cage in October. Furthermore, he discussed Sean Strickland and also opened up on their prior time training together. According to Chimaev, their sparring sessions weren't even close. Here's what he said. Sean Strickland said he beat me in sparring, but there were a lot of guys around who saw me choking him and beating him up. It was even recorded on camera, so we also have some unfinished business. It would be good to see who's better inside the octagon. While Khamzat Chimaev would love the chance to fight Sean Strickland, he's going to have to wait. While Khamzat believes he deserves a title shot, he's also dead set on returning to the cage in October. Meanwhile, Strickland has revealed his plans to sit out as long as it takes to get a UFC title shot. What do you make of these comments about Sean Strickland? Who do you want to see Khamzat Chimaev fight in his UFC return? Former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou's long-awaited PFL debut is drawing near, according to one of the league's top officials. Ngannou hasn't fought in MMA since a unanimous decision victory over Cyril Gane at UFC 270. 1 year after the fight, Ngannou opted to part ways with the UFC following a lengthy, strained contract dispute. Ngannou has since fought twice in the boxing ring against heavyweight stars Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, suffering defeats in both fights. He's been on hiatus after the tragic death of his son in Cameroon. After signing with the PFL in 2023, a timeline for Ngannou's PFL debut has been kept secret. Ngannou is back in the gym and is transfixed on an MMA comeback fight, according to the PFL brass. In a recent interview, PFL President of Fighter Operations Ray Sifo was asked for an update on Ngannou's MMA return. Here is what he said. There have been discussions. Francis has been back in camp for the last few weeks in Las Vegas at Extreme Couture. That's in the works, and I think we're just in the midst of trying to finalize where it's going to be, when the date is, and what kind of time frame it's going to take for both athletes to be ready, and we'll go from there. Ngannou is also the chairman of PFL Africa, which is scheduled to launch in 2025. Fight fans have waited almost 3 years for Ngannou's MMA return, and it sounds like we're just a few more months away from it coming to fruition. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Your dedication and support fuel our passion to bring you the latest and greatest in the MMA world. If you enjoyed today's news, please give us a thumbs up and share it with fellow MMA fans. Remember to subscribe to stay in the loop with daily MMA updates. We've got a lot of exciting news, interviews, and analysis coming your way every single day. Your engagement helps us grow and serve the MMA community even better. Once again, thank you for being an integral part of our daily MMA journey.